Morning, ladies and gentlemen. On this Tuesday, glad you are here for Ask the Theologian. Got a full week of broadcasting going on for you today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in our summer schedule of full week broadcasting. On Ask the Theologian, if you have a question, you're watching live, you can put the word question first, or you can go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to askthetheologian.com. There's all the peripherals, except that we'll do our best to serve up a little sarcasm, maybe today and every day. Ring the snarky bell, perhaps, and give someone a prize for best question of the day, best comment, best thought, whatever it is. We'll be entertaining. We'll have a smile. We'll be gracious. We'll be fully biblical and rightly dividing. How's that sound? On your questions. Broadcasting on X. Just started that last week. And I tell you what, we haven't had a question come in on X yet because we have not built up an X audience yet. But someone try it out. Go to X, say hello in the chats at Dr. Randy White, Dr. Randy White. Check it out. And glad you're here. And of course, YouTube, good to see you this morning. And those of you on Worshipify or Randy White Ministries, God bless you. Good to see you. And let's jump in. Let's see. Wednesday night, we're doing 1 Thessalonians. Look forward to that tomorrow night in chapter 2. Thursday night, we've been doing this this series on what they believe and why it matters. Got free books for you there at dispensationalpublishing.com. And you can check those out. Thursday night, I think, there's always a little chance I'll change my mind between now and then because I have not developed this one fully. But I think we're going to look at the Chicago Statement on Biblical Inerrancy. It is a statement that a lot of conservative evangelical colleges and seminaries go by as it relates to what is biblical inerrancy. It'll help us a little bit to say, hey, they've got some things that some others are missing out on. They've got some things that are the same problems that others have. Let's look at the Chicago Statement of Biblical Inerrancy on Thursday. And that is 7 p.m. And probably we'll have a good time there for that. So, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are. Thanks for being here. Let's go to Donald in South Carolina. I had a question came in last week. I was a little slow getting to it. Sorry about that. But he put an email address, so just in case Donald in Merle's Point is not listening live, I will let him know. I'd ask the theologian when you do your email. That's what happens. Donald, South Carolina, what are your thoughts on Leatherwood stepping down as president of the ERLC, Ethics and Religious Liberties Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention? Would the SBC be at a turning point similar to the conservative resurgence? As a guy who was once fully involved in the SBC, preaching the denominational brochure, going right down the denominational line, carrying the water bucket for those in the SBC, I have to say, I don't keep up with it anymore. And therefore, I was not even aware that Leatherwood stepped down. But I tell you what, let me first of all get a little bit of update here on this. I tell you what we're going to. We're going to get the update all at the same time. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to open up a new window. Let's see. I'm not sure I'm signed in, but let's go. Okay. I don't think I'm signed in here because it's a different browser. But let's. One of the nice things about Grok or Grok, however you say that, is that it does a pretty good job on current events. So let's go ahead with a tell me about Leatherwood resigning from the ERLC. And let's just learn together here a little bit about what's going on. Brent Leatherwood resigned as president on July 31st after nearly 4 years in the role, 9 years with the organization. Now, that tells me a little something right there. Okay, 4 years in the role. I knew his name. I knew he was president there. I kind of quit following when Russell Moore left. Russell Moore was a leftist disaster. So if he's been there 9 years, that tells me he's part of that also. So a resignation is a good thing, would be my quick take on it. Okay, starting out as Director of Strategic Partnerships, which is, Dear Southern Baptist, if you think you're giving to missions when you give to the cooperative program, you've been smoking something. You drank the Kool-Aid. You're giving towards denominational bloat. You're giving towards often left-leaning social movement organizations. You're not giving to someone who's going to go to Paraguay and share the gospel and start a church. Very, very little of your cooperative program money goes to that. You're giving into your state convention, which pays for guys to go around and have lunch with pastors to encourage them. And they don't need the encouragement. You're giving to promotional materials that come out to Southern Baptist, pins and bracelets, and I got a picnic tablecloth the other day. It's all, wrapped up. I mean, this thing's probably, I don't know, $20. I don't know, from the North American Mission Board, still on their list. Paraphernalia. That's what you're giving to. You're giving to bloop, 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 bloop. So quit saying, oh, we're giving to missions through the cooperative program. No, you're not. You're giving to directors of strategic partnerships. His resignation followed a tumultuous period marked by internal conflicts within the SBC, particularly with its conservative faction pushing for a more right-leaning agenda. The Ethics and Religious Liberties Commission has always, from day one, been a problem. And part of it is because the denomination is split. There are some conservatives in there, some right-wing conservatives, politically especially. The ERLC, it used to be called the Christian Life Commission, is all about government and ethics, things going on. That is it's a firebed of a place to be anyway. When you're talking about ethics, you're going to have some people agree, some people disagree, all that kind of stuff. So always a problem. I am one that says it should have been shut down before it ever got started. Look up the name Foy Valentine sometime. F-O-Y, Foy Valentine. He was an early president of the Christian Life Commission before it changed to the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. He was pro-abortion, everything else. And it's been a problem since day one. Richard Land, you could argue, was probably a social conservative, and certainly aligned with the conservative wing of the Southern Baptist. But then Russell Moore came in. That's been a long time ago, and then Brent Leatherwood here. Leatherwood's tenure was controversial due to his position on issues like immigration reform. He was very pro-immigration. Refugee settlement. He wanted them in your community. Gun control. He wanted it. And clashed with the MAGA-aligned wing of the SBC. Notably, he supported immigration policies favoring border security. Okay, goes on through some of this stuff. A 2024 attempt to abolish the ERLC and at the SBC annual meeting failed but showed significant dissent with 44% voting against the agency. It would be the best thing that the Southern Baptists could do is close the thing down. There are plenty of political action committees, which is what the ERLC is, political action committees that Southern Baptists can decide individually, what do I want to support, what do I want to be involved in? There is no reason whatsoever that there is a need for the Ethics and Religious Liberties Commission. Okay, a key incident occurred when ERLC board chairman Kevin Smith announced Leatherwood's firing. Okay, so he was fired, good. Only for executive committee to retract the statement within hours. I don't know anything about this. Clarifying Smith acted unilaterally without a formal vote, violating bylaws. Who knows what happens, but obviously people were mad when things were going on here. Let's see. He cited a desire to close this chapter, highlighted achievements like defunding Planned Parenthood. Well, the thing here, that was defunded through the Big Beautiful Bill, which I suppose Leatherwood was against. So I wouldn't praise. Now, Leatherwood and the ERLC is pro-life, but I suspect they were not part of closing Planned Parenthood. Placing 40 ultrasound machines. Okay, 40 ultrasound machines. Those are expensive, no doubt about it. But I suspect you can find foundations that have done a lot more than that. And it wasn't with tithing money. That's not my thing either. It was with, money people just gave. I bet 40 is like a drop in the bucket. Let's see. So this Mullen guy was named acting president because he has loving courage. Let's see. Critics, including Voices on X, argued Leatherwood's positions, like his praise for Biden's 2024 withdrawal from the presidential race, alienated conservative Baptists. Others, like former ERLC President Russell Moore, defended him as a man of integrity. Reflects a broader division within the SBC over. Okay, so here's my short take, or has it already been long? I'm glad he's out. That's a good start. There will not be another conservative resurgence in the SBC because there are too few real conservatives left. Most of them have already departed, like me. They aren't going to go to any Southern Baptist Convention meetings. They're not going to get energized for this. And the people in the pew absolutely don't care because the Southern Baptist Convention has become a bunch of churches of feel-good pop music, shallow sermons. Don't care about any of that. The ERLC probably will close down someday, but it'll be because of budget cuts, would be my guess. There we go. Thank you, Donald in South Carolina. Appreciate that. Pongo, good to see you. Pongo's Ponderings on YouTube as a question for the Theologian. Let's see if we can handle it. Many cultures share similar myths. Floods, resurrections, divine judgment. How can we know if one tradition holds the truth or if these stories just reflect shared human needs? Okay, I think there is a shared human, I'm going to stop right there. I don't know if I'll put needs in, but I understand where you're going, and I somewhat agree with what you've got here. But so there are cultures across Native American cultures, but what I'm trying to say is on every continent. Go into the Middle East, go into Africa, you go into indigenous tribes almost everywhere, China. And what you find is, they all have these concepts that go along with one another. It's concepts of flood, concepts, I'll even say, of of Messiah, of Redeemer, of the chosen one, concepts of virgin birth, concepts of the great conqueror, concepts of judgment, concepts of an ultimate end where things come together finally in the end, and the Redeemer, the Messiah, the Savior steps in and fixes things. So all of those concepts definitely transcend cultures. Now, is this an aspect of shared human need? A very worthy question. That is, that we as humans need a Savior. And so we as humans develop that need. Would beg the question, why so much similarity in the way we meet that need? So humans look and say, something is not right here. Something needs to be fixed. Humans try what they can do to fix it. And they say, we tried capitalism, we tried socialism, we tried fascism, we tried nationalism, we tried MAGA, we tried, whatever, the entire spectrum. They say, we tried. Humans recognize none of these have fixed the problem. We still got the problems. Sometimes we put a Band-Aid, sometimes we put it off a little bit, but we still got the problems. So we've got the human need of, we really need someone to come in and fix this. So then we say, okay, let's say totally let's speak totally psychologically. There we go. Totally psychologically, we develop a psychological mechanism that makes us feel better about, okay, I can't fix it, but someday the great one is going to come and fix it. So I can see that as shared human need. We all come to the same conclusion, and so there's only one thing left. Somebody's coming from the outside. Now, where I would say it goes beyond shared human need, more to shared human experience, but it goes beyond shared human need in that we do come up with the same thing. Why is a flood involved in this? Why is many times a virgin birth involved in this? Why is a sinless life involved in this? So we have developed some things that go beyond, this is just what we need collectively, to we have, across time, place, and culture, we have developed some very specific concepts of what's going in here. So I think what we've got there is, I'll call it a shared human experience rather than a shared human need. Now, the experience, part of it is experiential truly, in that we, obviously talking about our ancestors, we all experienced the flood. We all experienced the Tower of Babel. Some of these things that are a shared human experience. I know this one sounds a little bit loopy, crazy. I need a crazy bell, don't I? For when I go crazy. But we've got, I think there is some scientific evidence that says in our DNA, a memory of our ancestral experience is there. Now, how verifiable can you really get with that? I don't know. And maybe it's much more psychological and educational things that bring this about, oral traditions and whatnot. But whether it's through oral tradition or whether it's in our DNA to say, hey, we've been given some collective memory that helps us to say there was a flood back there. There was a scattering back there. There was a promise back there of a redeemer. Look sometime to Greek mythology. Greek mythology covers a lot of these things. You know, again, it goes along Greek mythology, Roman mythology, which obviously are cousins. You've got all these things that's like, there's a similar story here. I get into Gilgamesh epic, and Native Americans, almost every Native American tribe has some flood type story that is a part of their oral tradition or collective memory, however you want to put that. So is it a shared human need? I think it's a shared human need. We need a redeemer. But somewhere there's a collective memory or a collective oral tradition that says, here is how this is going to come about. Now, if there's that collective memory or collective oral tradition across cultures and within cultures, then we have to say, okay, what's the reality of that? You can have collective memories of things that didn't happen. There's a term for that. Anybody remember the name for? It's a psychological term, but the name for a collective memory that actually never existed. Somebody find me the name for that. I know there is one. So we need to go back and say, okay, we have all these collective memories. What's true? Now, here is where we get into the heart of your question. How can we know if one tradition holds the truth? Mandela effect. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. It's the Mandela effect when collectively everybody remembers something that never happened. It's a kind of interesting phenomenon. Look it up. But when all these cultures hold to something, you go back in and say, I am going to piece this together and see if I can figure out what's common and what's dissimilar about these. Of the common aspects, then can I take from that tradition and say, okay, what else do we have within that? Let's say a flood is common. Okay, let me gather together all of the flood epics and let me see what's common about that. Then maybe I say, I'm going to speed this up. We come down to, we've got the account in Genesis and we've got the Gilgamesh epic. What then in the Gilgamesh epic, let's take it as true. In the Gilgamesh epic, what is it that we would say that can't be true? I think we would have to research this, so don't take my word for it. But I think in the Gilgamesh epic, it has a cube for an ark. But I don't think a cube works because it tosses on the sea. It does not stay upright. So then we could go to the Genesis epic and say, okay, we've got some measurements there. Some were a little confused on, what exactly is a cubit, but we can come up with some things. I've got some teaching on that. We can come up with some things and say, okay, now let me take this and see if it's seaworthy. So then if we've got two that are the same, but one has these things that just don't work, then I think we can put that aside and say, okay, now I'm going to narrow this down. So I think, if you're out there pondering and you're saying, okay, between the what have you got here? The aspects of one versus another, how can we narrow down to say this one has a lot of stuff that doesn't seem to be true and work through it? So I think there are ways to work through it, and then say, okay, this one's got way too many things. I have to discount it and say all of the similarities they could have gotten from this one, and begin to put that together. I appreciate that. That, by the way, is, I hope it's an open-minded look. First of all, I don't want to take the look, because we have brains. I don't want to take the look and say, well, ours is right and theirs is wrong. I want to say what's right about all of them, and then let's do the scientific work from there and see, can we come down? Now, obviously, that's not a work that we can do right here. As a matter of fact, I would suggest that it would probably take someone, it'll help with AI, as long as you're careful and don't let that lead you astray. But it will help to bring that out and do that study of all those. It would be very beneficial for someone. It would be a good book, Pongo, to put together, even if you just deal with the flood, or you just deal with the virgin birth, I mean, whatever, to put that together and say, let's take this one thing, let's say, yeah, this one has a flood, but it also has one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eaters. And we know that can't be right, so we're going to discount this. Furthermore, we think that this one is newer than that one, so they very likely could have, through oral tradition, gotten this idea from over here, and then they added some. So we're gonna mark that out. Do a real good scientific study, I think, would be a blessing to someone. Now, maybe it's been done out there. I don't know. There's not much new under the sun. Thanks, Pongo. I appreciate that. And I got a word there to up the volume a little bit, and I did that. I'm going to do it one more time. You all tell me if it gets too loud. Okay, there we go. So give me your feedback on volume. I did increase that a little bit for those who don't want to have to crank their phone up all the way. It is frustrating, isn't it? You know, you're trying to listen to something and maybe there's a little background noise and it's going as high as it can get, and I can't get it any higher. That's always on the producer's end. So you all give me a word if you say, oh, I think you overdid it, Pastor. Okay. Thanks, Pongo, for the pondering and the question there. I appreciate that. Nancy says, perfect volume. But what about the tie, Nancy? You have not commented on the tie in quite some time. Is the tie perfect? That's what we want to know. Okay, let's go into ye old Christian curmudgeon. Oh, how about that? I missed one. Politely pondering the plight of a posit I proffered on July 28th. Was it too prolonged? I better back up, because I do have some that I haven't gotten to, and it must be there. So that's the way to do it. Sure enough, Monday, the 28th of July, the old Christian curmudgeon. Pastor, he says, I've got a paralyzing predicament that no pedestrian preacher can palliate. Look up the word palliate for me. I think it has something to do with palate. I'm going to guess. Has to do with palate. And communicating with the mouth the answer. That's my prediction. But am I right? I don't know. Do we have a definition yet for palliate?
Make a disease or its symptoms less severe or unpleasant without removing the cause.
Well, not exactly. Make a disease or a symptom less severe without removing the cause. Let's see if I can do that. Or pronounce it. I was reading chapter 6 of Sir Robert Anderson's Misunderstood Texts of the Bible. This is one I have not read. I should. I do not agree with what he says about the Bema seat. It seems that he does not rightly divide Paul's epistles like most dispensationalists today do not. But he says something that piqued my interest as he rebukes those who believe, quote, that in passing to heaven, his people will receive a lethal draught, D-R-A-U-G-H-T, draught. That in passing to heaven, his people will receive a lethal draught which will destroy our memories of earth. Okay. So, let's see. He rebukes those who believe we're going to lose that memory. You know, I have not, palliative care. Yeah, there we go. I have not, Nancy, I don't have my glasses, so I can't tell if the tie is suitable. I think what she means is it's ugly. That was just a nice way around it, don't you think? Anyway, Luca picked it, but he's blaming me because I switched the jacket. I didn't like the jacket he picked for me. Can we get back to it? I have said in the past that our person is built on our experiences here on earth. Part of who I am is the journey that I have taken. So I think I'm in agreement with him on this rebuke that his people, I might just call it people or believing people, because I would take his people as Israel, will receive a lethal draft, thank you, Jay, which will destroy our memories on earth. That seems to destroy us. We know how it is when somebody loses their memory, they're not the same person anymore. He goes on to say, quote, it degrades heaven to the level of a fool's paradise. I think I like this. Sir Robert Anderson was brilliant. Even though we don't agree with him on everything, he was brilliant. A fool's paradise. Yeah, it's sort of this make-believe. We're all people who are somehow the same, but we're totally different. Furthermore, he says, quote, personality depends on memory. That's what I've been saying. I must have a collective memory of this. And, quote, death destroys all memories of earth. If death destroys all memories of earth, Sir Robert Anderson said, my identity and the ego who will bear that name in heaven is a mere theory. I'm not disagreeing with him yet. I think I agree. And he says, if, quote, my earthly friends fail to recognize me, I shall not recognize myself. There's a very good point there. If I'm a person with none of the memory, none of the experiences that was me, am I me? Can I recognize myself? If I don't look like me, don't think like me, don't talk like me, don't act like me, and I show up at my grandkid's door, they're not going to be thrilled. Or your door, for that matter. Okay. The curmudgeon, Matthew, says I agree with him on this, and quite possibly 1 Corinthians 13:12 helps us out. As it says, I shall know even as I am known. That is a passage which has been used to, often used to say, hey, we're going to know each other. I shall know even as I've been known. But yeah, this brings it deeper. I've been known as a guy who likes sunshine and Whataburger. That means in heaven we'll have sunshine and Whataburger. This leads me to my question. I don't know if you mentioned this verse in your sermon about the eternal age, but Isaiah 65:17 says, let's go ahead and pull this one up so we can see it. Isaiah 65:17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth. The former shall not be remembered nor come to mind. Okay, passage that would seem to conflict with the idea of the former being remembered. That new heaven and new earth, of course, we know from the book of Revelation is at the end of the millennium. But nonetheless, do we want 1,000 years of knowing as we have been known? And then from there on, we shall not be remembered, nor come to mind. Is there a way that Isaiah here, when he says the former shall not be remembered, that that's not talking about Matthew's personality, which is memorable? That it's somehow only in the created thing of the heavens and the earth, and not the people, the souls that live on forever? Might be able to bring that. You might also say, what I would say is, I want to know about this word remembered. I want to study that a little bit. Nor remembered nor come to mind. I need both of that. You know, those are, it's really kind of two different things. I suppose you do say, you know, I forgot, as in it didn't come to mind. And then sometimes we say, I forgot, as in, I believe you when you tell me that you told me this or taught me this, but honestly, I have no memory of it. So there's not remembering comes in two different categories, I guess you would say, where literally, I don't remember. And literally, it didn't come to mind. So in using both of those, is he saying the full kit and caboodle there? The former shall not be remembered nor come to mind. Is he talking about the soul, or is he talking about just the created things, the heavens and the earth? Or is all of this, is there context to this? Is there nuance to the words? Is there poetry that makes us say, hey, wait a minute, poetically speaking, we've got to deal with this in the genre that it's in. What have we got there? Let me jump back here to Matthew. This leads to my question. I don't know if you've used this verse, Isaiah 65:17. If there is no memory of the former, then what the heck was all that about? Matthew says. Sir Robert Anderson and I would like to know. Okay. Let's back up a little bit in Isaiah 65 and see if we can put any context to it. I sought of them that asked not for me. I found them that sought me not. I said, behold me, unto a nation that was not called by my name. Lo ami, the lo ami people. I've spread out my hands all day to a rebellious people. This seems to be God speaking about the nation of Israel. A people that provoke me to anger continually to my face. And they sacrifice in the gardens, burn incense on altars of bricks. It's not where they're supposed to do it. Which remain among the graves. This is probably the people. They lodge in the monuments. They eat swine's flesh. Broth of abominable things is in their vessels. They say, stand by thyself, come not near to me, for I'm holier than thou. That is quite the condemnation upon the nation. They are a smoke in my nose and a fire that burneth all day. Behold, as is written before me, I will not keep silent. I will recompense, even recompense unto their bosom. Your iniquities are the iniquities of your fathers together. Jump down a little bit. Thus saith the Lord, as new wine is found in the cluster, and one saith, destroy it not, for a blessing is in it, nor will I do for my servant's sake that I may not destroy them all. I'm going to save some. I will bring forth a seed out of Jacob, out of Judah, an inheritor of my mountains. Mine elect shall inherit it. Okay, not my people versus mine elect. The people who will become my people. My servants shall dwell there. Sharon, the plain of Sharon, shall be a fold of flocks, the valley of Achor, a place for herds to lie down, for my people that hath sought me. But ye are they that forsake. You forget my holy mountain, the temple. Back to condemning them. Therefore I will number you to the sword. You shall bow down to the slaughter. You're going to die. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Okay, I'm going to fulfill my promises, but not to you. Verse 14, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry. Verse 15, ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen. He's talking about the northern kingdom of Israel here. For the Lord God shall slay thee, call his servants by another name, that he who blesseth himself in the earth shall bless himself in the God of truth. He that sweareth on the earth shall swear by the God of truth, bringing them to a righteousness here, because former troubles are forgotten. Is that his premise, that former troubles are forgotten? And because they are hid from mine eyes. For behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered. So is the former here that shall not be remembered the same as these former troubles, which are specific? It's probably where I would go is narrow that down in context and say he's talking about the way that those who are supposed to be God's people just spit in his face. God in the remnant is going to remove that memory. Now, if you take it that way, you narrow down the former based upon the passage here. Let me do some highlighting. The former, let's do the whole thing. The former troubles are forgotten, and because they are hid from mine eyes. 2, the former shall not be remembered, nor come unto mind. I wonder here if there is this parallelism all the way. Former troubles are forgotten, number 1. They are hid from mine eyes, number 2. Down here, number 1, the former shall not be remembered. Number 2, nor come into my mind. Mine eyes, mine mind. Can you read it that way? The words aren't there, but can you make this the mind of God because of the parallelism that's there? Now, if you connect that, this I create new heavens and a new earth, should that be connected to the book of Revelation, the new heaven and the new earth? Or is that a poetic way of saying, I am going to fix this. I'm going to fix it so wholly and so totally that this stuff will be forgotten. This stuff will not be remembered. And could it be the former shall not be remembered is not talking about every memory that Matthew has or Randy has. Rather, it's talking about this stuff is just going to be lost in time. Forget about it. I've been learning a little bit about the construction of the Hoover Dam in Nevada, Arizona. And in a lot of ways, it was about reclamation, is what it was called then, reclaiming the desert for useful purposes. The Imperial Valley in California, which they turned into a breadbasket and needed water. But man, it was a journey getting there. It's an interesting story. The book's called Colossus, if you're interested. It has a little bit too many left-leaning comments every now and then, but nonetheless, the history of it's kind of interesting if you just know, would you just dump that comment? But a lot of books are like that. So, but could it be such a thing like, I don't know, I assume, is the Imperial Valley, check this out for me, the Imperial Valley in California, is that a agricultural paradise today? Or have we brought it back to its former lack of glory? But I think it was, hey, let's recreate this desert land into something that really can be very, very productive if we can just channel this river in the right way to be able to use this water instead of letting it go into the ocean, Governor Newsom. So is it, hey, this is a paradise we live in. I mean, desert. Wonderful. Turn on the crank there, the irrigation water flows in, boom, we got it. Is it a nice place, Imperial Valley? Saying it is, okay. There. Nothing to do with politics, it has to do with history. So could it be, collectively, use collective memory again, we forgot that we created that valley. In fact, the word imperial, I remember this from the book, the word imperial, the Imperial Valley, was, it was named that for marketing purposes, to get settlers to come in. This is paradise right here. And they really did, it's sort of a planned farming community, region area. That somebody said, I think we can make a new heaven and a new earth here. So is it speaking somewhat poetically with hyperbole? Probably, I think that Sir Robert Anderson is right, but we would be wrong to use Isaiah 65:17 to speak to Robert Anderson's issue of our personality in the beyond. I hope that is helpful to you on a long journey there through that question. Thank you very much. Okay. I have got time. So let's take another question came in here during the program on Ask the Theologian. Will the unsaved get a second chance? I don't think there's anything in the scripture that gives us an indication that the unsaved get a second chance. You certainly have a judgment that is given at the end. I'm going to add one word to the question. The unsaved dead. Probably assume that, but for safety, I want to put that in there. Dead people who are unsaved. Every indication is that, depending on the dispensation, there is a resurrection. There is a resurrection for everybody, but it depends on the dispensation on when theirs is. When you come to that resurrection, there, at best, and this one's pretty tenuous, at best, a person is able to look at their works and God is able to say, you're going to the lake of fire, but we're going to hold you on the grate above, not right in it. And that probably is a stretch to be able to build that. I think you could try to build that theology, but doesn't really get you out of eternal conscious torment. But are there some levels there to hell? Probably not exactly like Dante put it, but are there some levels of hell? Maybe you could argue that for outside of our dispensation. But I don't see anything in Scripture in which you could say, hey, do you see now that you were wrong? Would you like to change your mind? This will be your final answer. At that point, I would think that it would never be a response of faith anyway, and faith always has been required. Different things that come after that, depending on the dispensation, but faith has always been required. But then it wouldn't be faith. It'd just be a no-brainer. So if there was a second chance, it seems that everybody would choose. So I see no evidence whatsoever of a second chance. Maybe I see evidence that there is some mercy toward well-doers. Is that the way you say that? Well is an adverb. Do is a verb. Well-doers. Some mercy towards well-doers. But I think, to go to Romans, they're without excuse. So there's not an excuse. Now, I think you can build an argument that does say until a person comes to moral volition. So I don't think infants and children need a second chance. I would say they are going to be with the Lord. But you take a 25-year-old, I think down through the ages, unfortunately, not a second chance there. Does anybody see a passage in which you could, I don't care if you would, but in which a person could build an argument for a second chance? Well, let's try it out. Luca, use AI here and ask a question that, if you were to build an argument for a second chance at the resurrection, what passages would you use? Let's see if it tells us anything. Now, I would venture to say there are going to be passages that we would pretty quickly say, that's not really, I sort of see where you're coming from, but that's not the one that we would go with. I doubt we're going to get very far in this, but let's go ahead and try it to question the assumptions, to be the best diligent students that we can give. Thanks, old man Bob. He said, perfect answer. I appreciate that. Thank you. What does it give us anything?
Just resurrection passages.
Okay.
Only one is Revelation 20:12 through 13, saying those judged of their works.
Okay. Yeah, Revelation chapter 20, verse 12, I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. The books were opened. Another book was opened, which is the book of life. The dead were judged of those things which were written in the books. Assumingly, this is the books here, according to their works. That makes it clear. So there is a judgment according to works. This is where I would say, I think maybe you could build a levels of judgment. Judged according to their works, the sea gave up the dead, the death and hell were delivered, the dead which were then judged, every man according to their works. But it does go on. Whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Now, a number of ways to interpret that. I don't think you could build they got a second chance. Yeah. Doctrine. Yeah, Luca has a good point here. They are judged according to their works when they were alive. That's not a second chance. That is, here's your record. So the record speaks, doesn't give a second chance. Not, hey, these are your works, but now you can do some different works. Opportunity is not shown there. So I think you would struggle to say, yeah, okay, we'll put that in here. I see some conversation. I haven't been able to read it here about Acts 20 and the start point of the church. Interesting. I'll read the comments there. I think it's a good and worthy question. Let's see. I had a question from Manny. Sorry I didn't get to that yesterday, and a couple of anonymous questions. Like there's an interesting one. It was short, so I just read it in my mind. Is it okay to doubt the so-called rapture? Why don't we start with that tomorrow? How's that? I am going to put I'm going to put a green flag there tomorrow. So we'll go with that tomorrow as the first question of the day. And look forward to that. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, twice tomorrow. And thanks all of you for being here with us. Always a blessing to see you. Randy at randywhiteministries.org is our website. You can find the information about our Branson trip, or Randy at randywhiteministries.org/Branson, where we'll learn theology. Yesterday I was working on the chapter on angelology and demonology. Such interesting stuff there. Can't wait to give it to you in systematic theology at Branson. Come join us if you can. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. AskTheTheologian.com. Place for your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we will see you next time, tomorrow morning, Wednesday. God bless.